Minecraft dimensions are something that define the game. The overworld, the nether, and the end. But what if there was going to be another? A few years ago, in the good old year of 2011, Notch stated on Twitter that a sky dimension was confirmed to be coming to Minecraft in 1.8. And now in 1.18, we still don't have it. However, I found that there's a way to experience what it would have been like. And that brings us to present day, or more accurately, 1.16.5. If you load up Minecraft, you can find the fabled world type floating caves. But here comes the tricky part. Because their dimension was never finalized and released, instead of making every biome in one, they all got their own world generation. Meaning, if you choose one biome from the option list, that's all you get. There was no alternative, believe me, I tried. So instead of beating the game like you normally would, I decided for 3 separate aims to do in the world. Make a home base with preferably a bed and storage, a renewable food source that didn't rely on the world's natural spawn patterns, and something that actually looks nice. But to make it more interesting, I got a random number generator, something that would decide what biome I'd play rather than me picking the best one. So I decided to do it. And out of the 78 possible biomes, I got...
Alright, 18, what's that then? Desert, uh-oh.
I'll be honest, it wasn't looking too good. I mean a desert of all places, somewhere with no trees and no animals. Would I starve? Would I even be able to make tools? Well, there's only one way to find out. But please also subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. I'm really new to it, and it would mean so much more than you actually think. Loading the world, I saw my first glimpse of actual craziness. A floating mineshaft, and not just one, but 2 of them. And if you think that's crazy, just wait until later. After making my way off the side of the cliff, I saw pretty much what I expected. Almost nothing. Except there was a desert temple. Somehow, the whole lead up to this, I didn't even consider the fact that desert temples could spawn. So after almost dying and killing a rabbit to get 0 food from it, thank you very much, I made my way into the temple, only to find the best loot I've ever got from one of them. That being 2 diamonds, 2 golden apples, and an enchanted golden apple. So after a great escape, I made my next discovery. A village. Oh, and another temple, but no one cares about that. But this village strangely held the most important tool of all. A tool that without it means I wouldn't even be here. You know trees and how there's a severe lack of them in the desert, as I said? Well, without trees it would be possible to get a crafting table, and without a crafting table it would be impossible to do anything. And that's where the village comes in to save the day. One type of village house can spawn a crafting table in it, but unluckily it only has a 3% chance of spawning in the first place. So all I could do is look through villages and hope, but eventually.
Is that it? Please.
So after making my first tools, I took a rest, confident now I could at least get somewhere. The next day, I replaced my stone tools and made my way over to the second desert temple, only to see a ruined portal. And luckily for me, this one wasn't floating over the void, like something else. Except, I didn't have blocks to get over. And then when I did, the portal didn't even have a chest. Remember when I said I was lucky? If I wanted to open the portal and explore whatever the nether would even be, I'd have to get 2 buckets of lava. So that's what I set out to do. I found one in the village I went to earlier, and another in a 3rd desert temple that I found on the way. With everything I needed, I quickly made my way back. So finally, I could go to the nether and see what it was like. Gonna be honest, it was kind of underwhelming. Turns out it's just the same. The one thing, however, that made all that trouble worth was that now I had the one thing I tried so hard to find. That being wood. Now I would no longer have to rely on a single crafting table and sticks from dead bushes, because I had a pretty much endless supply in the nether. At this point, I decided to tick a thing off the list and set up my base right next to the nether portal. So I made a pretty okay design using some stone bricks and sandstone that I got earlier. And before sleeping my first night in my own house, I decided to go to the desert temple and find what treasures it had. Well, it probably had bad loot anyway, you know. So that night I went to bed in the comfort of my own home, knowing at least I got one thing done. The next thing I wanted to do was get a renewable food source, as I worried that my bread would go dangerously low if I kept exploring. But instead of cheating and using just the villagers for it, I decided that I'd make my own farm. So after using seeds and the infinite water source I had made earlier, as well as some dirt when I was using TNT, I made the only food source I would realistically have. So in the end, I had one final thing to achieve. I had to build something that looked nice. Not something as massive as the builds you see on TikTok, but something that was nice to look at. So to fit with the desert theme, I started a plan to make a giant pyramid. Unfortunately, this giant pyramid would need a lot of sandstone, which originally was going to take ages to collect. But pretty soon I just realized I could use a ruined temple sandstone. It's not like it was going to any good use there. And after a long time, I finally finished building it. Incorrectly. I for some reason didn't account that it could be 4 at the top instead of 1. So after taking an even longer time to rebuild it, I finally ended up finishing it. And it looked pretty nice. At this point, I was satisfied. I'd made it through some tough conditions and built a home base out of nothing. But before I left, there was one more thing I wanted to do, which would make it all worthwhile. If you did enjoy this video, please subscribe. I don't have many, and this video took a long time to make. Thank you so much for watching the entire thing. See you later.